There are different reasons for having free speech, but one of the most important reasons is that we don't know when we're wrong
Hmm.
about something. I could be wrong about something important, and unless someone else has the free speech to tell me that I'm wrong, I'm not going to be able to know and correct myself. And so, a big part of why innovation and free speech are correlated is because we don't know when we're wrong, and we need other people to who may have information that we're not privy to, or who may have ideas that we haven't thought of. We need them to have their freedom of expression so we can correct ourselves. And that's what science is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a self-correcting institution. So it's supposed to institutionalize methods for falsification and the testing of assumptions and the testing of findings. And so there are a lot of parallels between the scientific institution and then the notions, the reasons for why we want to protect free speech in a culture. Yeah, but on your empirical question, I don't have the answer to that. I would be surprised if innovation could flourish for very long when free speech is curtailed. I would be surprised.
Yeah.
It flourish for a short time, but I don't think over the long term, over multiple generations.
Right. Well, I think that that's a sort of a really interesting question that a lot of Westerners feel now, looking at what's happened in Asia, because there's countries like Singapore. I wouldn't say that Singapore's really restricted free speech, but there certainly are liberties that Singaporeans don't have that Americans say, oh, we have those liberties. And then we look at
Yeah.
China and we say, well, maybe their centralized government allows them to take on big projects that
Yeah.
we can't. And I think that that's a big concern in Western culture. Like what I'm trying to sort of think through here is maybe even aside from the success of a society, there's a certain just axiom that we should believe in free speech from like a moral perspective or from like a human rights perspective that is
Yeah.
aside from the success of a society itself.
Yeah. Well, I think a good example to look at historically would be the Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union poured a lot of money and effort into scientific projects and big state projects like, going to the moon. But when you put inhibitions on people to criticize freely, be able to critique people in positions of authority, it inhibits the truth, basically. So if you've got bureaucrats running scientists, like if you've got state bureaucrats telling scientists you have to work on this project and you have to get these results, and then the scientists are working on it and they can't get the results, or they might get results that are undermine the project's overall aim, and they feel inhibited to sort of tell the bureaucrats or stand up to the bureaucrats, then the entire project is going to suffer. So unless you give people the freedom to criticize those who are in positions of authority, I think ultimately big projects that rely on data and truth as being essential to their functioning, I think they're going to suffer. And I think if you look at the comparison between the Soviet Union and the United States, you can see how a society that had free speech as a value ultimately won against a society that didn't. But you're right, it is an empirical question, and we might see in 100 years from now that societies that don't have free speech as a value win the geopolitical contest. We really don't know. We shouldn't be complacent.